Guys, today's vlog is your first review of Outlander Season 4, Episode 1. I'm not joking.
Yeah, I have in fact seen all of Season 4.
I am here in New York Comic Con. And I don't know if you remember, probably around about a month ago, Diana Gabaldon, the author of Outlander, wrote on Twitter that she wasn't invited to New York Comic Con, and everybody was like, what? So you can imagine last night, at Madison Square Gardens here in New York Comic Con, in front of at least 5,000 people, our collective surprise when Diana Gabaldon strolled out there at the very opening of the Outlander panel. We were like, what? This is amazing, I cannot believe she's here. And it was at that moment I realised that this would be one of the greatest days of my life.
I can tell you it's good. Yeah, it's really good. And, you know, we put our money where our mouth is, so we're going to show you the first episode.
Mary of soul, she sailed on a day over the sea to the sky.
Now guys, listen, there will be spoilers in today's episode. Season 4, Episode 1, I am telling you my review and my reaction, but don't worry, stay tuned just now, because I will clearly inform you when the spoilers are coming. They're not here yet, they will be further down the line in this vlog. I think yesterday was like one of the best days of my life. It was so amazing. We had such a great day at the Outlander panel at New York Comic Con at Madison Square Gardens, and a huge audience. And guys, I managed to get the front row seats. A lot of people were asking me, how did you get the front row seats at New York Comic Con? I literally walked into the theatre, walked straight to the front, and there were two people that just left as I was arriving, and myself and Tekka were in the front row. How amazing is that? Anyway guys, listen, welcome to my channel. My name is Shaun and I am a YouTube vlogger from Edinburgh in Scotland. I talk all about Scottish culture and I do Scottish reactions, Scottish reviews, tell you about Scottish travel locations, and of course I talk about Outlander. If you are new here, please do hit the big red subscribe button down below in this corner so you can join my clan and stay in touch with all my videos from now on, and hit the notification bell as well. Outlander Season 4, Episode 1, I have seen it. It is incredible and I feel really privileged to be one of the first people in the world to have seen Outlander Season 4, Episode 1 already. We saw the whole thing. So my Outlander has finished 1 month earlier than most people's, and I'm a little bit sorry about that guys, but also not sorry. I'm going to be doing a couple of videos about Comic Con, my experience here in New York, and specifically about the Outlander panel as well, but that will be coming in a future episode. This video right here is exclusively about my review and reaction to Outlander Season 4, Episode 1. And before we get too heavily into it, I want to share with you some news that I talked about in a vlog the other day. I'm going to be doing some Outlander tours of Scotland next year. Very exclusive tours, only 1 or 2 of them, but I will be doing a couple, because lots of you guys have been in touch with me saying you want to do Outlander tours with me in Scotland, so I will do a couple next year. I have put a link down below where you can sign up your interest and let me know which month you would like to come to Scotland and do those tours with me of all the Outlander locations. It will be awesome. I can't wait to get involved with you guys and do that. And one thing I will say about Comic Con so far, my experience, is the best thing for me has been meeting all the Outlander fans, all you guys out there who were at Comic Con, who came and said hello. Thank you so much. It meant everything to me. It was such an awesome experience. I was feeling the love. And a lot of the people who did come and say hello were obviously people who watch the vlogs here on YouTube, but a lot of the people who said hello were also members of my Outlander forum on Facebook, which is a great place to kind of keep in touch with what I'm up to and what I'm doing here in New York and all that kind of stuff. So you're welcome to join. The link is here or down below as well. Come and say hello on Outlander the forum on Facebook. I think this is where I should probably announce that from here on in there will be spoilers for Season 4. I think the book readers, you guys will probably be okay with this and will want to know where the book diverges from the actual TV series. I think Season 4 is from a book that a lot of people say was their favourite book of all of the Outlander series, so that is why this one is especially anticipated by all the Outlander fans, which is cool. And guys, I should say I have not read beyond book 1 yet. I'm waiting to see the whole series on TV first, and then I'll be reading the books afterwards to fill in the gaps. And a lot of people have already seen this because it was shared online as well, but Outlander shared the new opening titles and the way they've remixed the new song as well, which is pretty cool. So I did take a bunch of notes as I was watching, right? But one thing about watching it in a big massive theatre like Madison Square Gardens is the sound wasn't perfect. I think in Outlander there's a lot of quiet, intimate talk that is really best suited to a good speaker system in a home and not in a big theatre, so there was a lot of little bits and details that I didn't properly catch, but I'll give you the main gist. So, Outlander Season 4, Episode 1, I don't even know the title of the episode yet. I'm sure that will be announced at some point. It opens at some standing stones, which at first I thought were Craignadoon in Scotland, but it quickly becomes apparent that they are not in Scotland. It is standing stones in America, in the New World, in the new land that they have arrived in. The last time we saw Jamie and Claire was washed up on a beach. They had basically lost everything.
What island is this?
You're not on an island at all. You're on the mainland.
As we start season 4, episode 1, there has definitely been a bit of time in between them washing ashore because they look like they've pulled themselves together somewhat. We didn't really know who had survived off that boat tragedy that they had as they hit the hurricane and washed ashore in North Carolina. So there's a couple of things missing in that. A lot of the people who were on that boat with them at the end of season 3 have just disappeared. So we don't know yet if they died or if they made it ashore and went elsewhere. But I'm sure that will come to light eventually. But we do know the main characters who have survived into season 4 is obviously Jamie and Claire, young Ian, and then Fergus and Marsley, and then Jamie's 2 clansmen, Hayes and the other guy that I can't remember his name. So obviously the standing stones that we see at Craignadoon in Scotland, we see like a bunch of druids dancing around those stones in the other seasons, right? But in the New World, in the American continent, we see a new set of stones, and we see people who are of a different background dancing and chanting away at the stones. And this whole sequence is narrated by Claire talking about the circle of life, which is something along the lines of this circle of life. It gives and it also can lead to death. And then that scene cuts away to a hangman's noose. So this friendly, fluffy, opening atmosphere very quickly turns sinister. And then Claire narrates and tells the story that they have been in America for 4 weeks, and that is how they end up in the situation in this town at the hangman's noose and why they are there. And that's when we get to see Hayes and found out that he had killed a man. He did tell the story of why he killed a man. That was the type of intimate details that I didn't quite catch on the big screen. But anyway, we know that Hayes has killed a man, and we find out that Jamie has been doing everything he could to try and save Hayes from the hangman's noose, but he was unsuccessful in that. Hayes is hung. But Hayes wasn't alone in being the only person that was about to be hung. There was other people there, and we find out more about them in just a wee bit. We also learn that Jamie had managed to salvage some rubies off of the boat when they got washed ashore. And they hope to sell that to make some money so that they can get back to Scotland. And this is something I found really interesting because, as far as I knew, they were going to be staying in America for a long term now, right? Potentially forever. And then Claire says right away early in season 4 that they actually plan to get some money as quickly as possible and head back to Scotland at the nearest opportunity. And I think she actually says in 2 weeks' time there's a boat leaving that they hope to be on. So to be honest with you, we're not really sure who is going to end up staying in America and who leaves, but what we do know is the first Lallybroch man, Hayes, is hung and dies. They take his body and give it a proper burial in a cemetery. But there's a scene, a really important scene, where Jamie and young Ian are digging up a hole in the graveyard to bury Hayes, right? And I wasn't expecting this to come out because it wasn't really mentioned in season 3, but young Ian has a moment of kind of panic, anxiety, and starts crying, and Jamie's like, what's the matter? And then young Ian talks about his experience with Gaelis in season 3. You'll probably remember that episode, Gaelis dripping in the blood. Hot. So young Ian anyway tells a story of how he was in fact raped by Gaelis, which is something that wasn't covered in season 3 on screens. I don't know if that was something that was discussed in the books. Was he raped in the books? Young Ian confirms it. He was raped by Gaelis, and it was something that left him with really bad memories. And Jamie gives him a lot of comfort about that, and also discusses his own experiences with non-consensual situations. And it's also kind of like a way of getting to know more about young Ian's general life experience. I think that was a really interesting part of the episode last night. But things quickly go south from there, right? Because a man appears, an Irish man, Stephen Bonnet, and he was one of the guys that were due to be hung with Hayes, but managed to escape somehow, get away, and he hid himself in the wagon with Jamie and the guys as they were taking the body to be buried, right? And at first he seems quite innocent, quite friendly, happy-go-lucky Irishman. The Irishman that we all love to love, basically. That's who he was. And I think that even though Jamie and the guys were a little bit distrusting of him when they first met him, they quickly were like, alright, we'll help you out because you were apparently a friend of Hayes. Being there in an audience of Outlander fans was an interesting experience because people were making noises as we were watching this. So Stephen Bonnet appears and then everybody started booing. So I'm like, alright, okay, these guys have read the books. They know Stephen Bonnet isn't this friendly Irishman anymore. They know he is somebody bad. So that was a really interesting dynamic, getting the audience reaction to people as they appeared on screen and what would happen, because they obviously had an inclination. But anyway, Jamie agrees to take Stephen Bonnet to safety through the woods, which are apparently very dangerous and full of redcoats. And sure enough, they get stopped. And I don't know if you remember, a couple of months ago, Starz released that clip of season 4, the sneak peek of them in the cart, and the soldier stopped them and stabbed the body to make sure that it was a dead body, really. And I actually thought at the time it was a dead body, but apparently it was Stephen Bonnet there, actually, and the soldier managed to stab the leg of venison and not his leg, otherwise it would have been game over for them all. But anyway, they set Stephen Hayes off to freedom, who appears to be very grateful for the fact, but also gives him a warning.
I'm Stephen Bonnet, sir. Be wary. Travellers in these woods are set upon by thieves and outlaws.
Claire and Jamie make camp for the night and have a really steamy love session right there in the woods, camped out, which was something that everybody was desperate to see, judging by the gasps and the hollers in the audience last night. Again, that was just such an interesting dynamic, getting to see everybody's reaction around me to the show. You know what, I actually really liked that part of it, the fact that I was watching Outlander with 5,000 other people, other fans, and got to see their reaction, which I'm sure the cast were quite enjoying as well. But anyway, Jamie and Claire eventually make it back to the village, reconnect with young Ian, who has found himself a new pal. Rollo is introduced to us, the beautiful dog who looks a bit like a wolf. I'm a huge dog and animal lover in general, so his introduction is amazing, and I know already that Rollo is going to be a big part of season 4, so that is really, really cool to see. But yeah, we find out more about the kind of story of where they are in this town in North Carolina. So Jamie and Claire are invited to a kind of evening dinner with the local dignitaries, the head of the local area. I think it was the governor. Jamie is actually offered by the governor. Is it the governor? I can't remember his official title. I'm just going to call him the governor of the area, right? He makes Jamie this offer saying that they're trying to resettle North Carolina, and says to Jamie, like, we know you're a good farmer and you're a good fighter. We could use somebody like you to get some land, basically, and get some people from Scotland to come and settle there.
North Carolina offers wealth and prosperity.
So that's what I'm thinking, like, now we're talking about Fraser's Ridge, right? That's what's going to happen. And they were obviously offered a lot of money to do that. So from them saying that they were going to go back to Scotland in a couple of weeks' time, they've now changed and said they're actually going to stay in America long term because they've had this great offer. Claire starts talking about the future and what is to become of America. And I think this is really interesting because I don't think Claire has talked to Jamie, not on screen anyway. I don't know if this happens much in the books, but Claire doesn't tell Jamie much about the future, really. And that's something that I would have found really interesting, Jamie's reaction to the future. But Claire does go into a little bit of detail of what America, what the colonies become, and who ends up moving there en masse, right?
People who come here in their thousands, all hoping to live the American dream.
Is that the same as our dream?
I suppose it is.
And so when Claire and Jamie were discussing whether or not they should accept this offer to come and settle the new world and stay in America for permanently, Claire was like giving Jamie warnings basically that, listen, the American wars of independence, the American Revolution, right, would be happening in 8 years' time. And now that Jamie was a settler of the British government, effectively he would be on the British side and they would ultimately lose that war. But Jamie's reasoning to the fact that they should actually stay is the fact that Brianna, her land is America. She's from America, she was born there. And he's like, well, this is to become her country, why don't we stay here and try and make it better? So I know where this is going already. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, this is going to lead to some kind of war. Jamie's saying he doesn't want to get involved in any more wars, he tells Claire that, but like, listen, it's going to happen, there's going to be more wars. Will he be on the British side though? That is something that I toy with. Jamie on the British side in a war of independence and losing that, like, that seems a bit inconceivable to me. Scottish people who settled in that area mostly were on the side of the American independence movement, but there were some Scots who sided with the British as well. It worked both ways. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out over the long term. But anyway, they've decided to stay. And another bit of news, right? I don't know if this comes out in the books in this early stage of season 4, but Marsley and Fergus, this is where their characters kind of come into play a bit more. They're expecting a child, which everybody's delighted about. Great to see another kid coming into the family, right? Marsley seems to have totally forgotten any kind of ill will she might have felt towards Claire. They're going to go and visit Jamie's auntie, Aunt Jocasta, who we found out has a big massive estate called River Run. She left Scotland a number of years ago and had settled in America, the New World, and had made good fortune, had a lot of land. So they all decide to go off and visit her on a long boat ride up a river, and everything was just seeming really smooth sailing from then. We had nice tranquil music, and that's when I thought the episode would end, like on this happy note. But it wasn't to be. They did something with the production that was really awesome. I think it was awesome. Not everybody liked this, but I thought it was cool. So they silenced the whole sequence of this, right? There was no sound coming from the cast, and it would have been a scene that would have involved lots of screaming and shouting and all that kind of stuff. It would have been a really noisy scene. So it was like we were watching a silent movie, and they played a really important song over it, which was an acoustic version of Ray Charles' America the Great.
America,
Stephen Bonnet has returned and has ambushed the boat. Of course Stephen Bonnet was a bad guy, right? Of course he was. He had to be a bad guy. I should have known that. Anyway, he comes on the boat with a lot of his traveller friends and basically violently robs everybody on the boat. Beats up Jamie. Jamie is in a bad way, by the way. I don't know how he comes through it in the next episode. We'll have to wait and see. Young Ian and Rollo, I'm not sure what happens to them. They disappear. All the while, America the Great is playing. So, in my mind, I think the addition of the song was genius because it kind of solidified the fact that they are in this new world, America. Lots of opportunities, the land of the brave and the free. As Claire had told Jamie earlier, America is a place where the hardworking can come and make something of themselves, which is a really cool insight from the future of Claire. So this music was kind of saying like, this is America, welcome. And yet something so tragically wrong was happening. Gavin Hayes' best friend, who was the other Lallybroch member, who had vowed to stay with Jamie and Claire on their route for America to protect them and defend them, and who had actually saved Claire from a man who was about to do something really bad to her, was indeed killed by Stephen Bonnet himself. And at the end of that episode we see Jamie basically getting beaten up. And the big sequence was with the wedding rings, right? Because Stephen Bonnet was taking everything that was on that boat and had already known that Claire had 2 wedding rings to 2 marriages, so he had come right for her and was going to get those rings. Claire took the 2 wedding rings off her finger, put them on her hand as if she was going to give them to Stephen Bonnet, and then at the last second grabs them and puts them in her mouth. And I'm thinking, is she going to swallow these rings? Stephen Bonnet, enraged by this, grabs her by the throat and makes her spit them out. And in the end, takes her 2 wedding rings, the precious wedding rings, the famous wedding rings that we see so much throughout all of the Outlander seasons. To lose the 2 wedding rings was something that really, really destroyed her. You could see on her face, her facial expressions, she was really upset and furious by this. And that kind of ended the scene nicely because we've got the 2 rings, and then how we started the whole episode with Claire talking about the circles of life. The circles, the hangman's noose, and now ending it with the rings. And that's how we're left with the ending of episode 1 of season 4. And we now know that Jamie has another enemy for life. Stephen Bonnet, I don't know how long he is going to stay in this series, presumably quite a long time. I'm guessing Jamie is going to be on a vendetta now to get those wedding rings back. That is my guess. And I guess that Jamie will eventually somehow get those wedding rings back for Claire. But yeah, that was it. Outlander season 4, episode 1. What an amazing emotional rollercoaster it was for me. I loved every minute of it. I loved seeing it with the fans. The whole production was just absolutely sensational. The music throughout, I mean, it's always amazing in Outlander, but it was just incredible. The settings, the scenery that they used was amazing. Obviously they filmed it in Scotland to be made to look like North Carolina, and I think they've done a great job. Nobody had any complaints there, and it was just sensational to see Outlander back on the screens again. And I think you guys are going to absolutely love it in every single sense. Book readers, I'm going to wait and see your opinion, right? But I thought it was just sensational, so good, and I can't wait to see the rest of the season. It's going to be great. We did get a bit more insight from the cast as we were speaking to them on the panel afterwards, but I'm going to talk about that on a separate episode. I really just wanted to give you my first initial reactions to Outlander season 4, probably one of the first ones that exists on YouTube, I guess, so I'm quite happy I managed to get the first one for you. Hopefully you enjoyed my kind of review and commentary about it. My reaction is, it was amazing, and I can't wait to see more now. I think they have outdone themselves again in every single sense, from the costume to the acting, to the scenes, to the setting, to the directing, to everything. It was just, wow. When a show moves you and it takes you on that emotional roller coaster from times of joy and happiness and then to anger and sadness, then you know it's done a good job. So wow, yeah, Outlander season 4 is going to be great. I met a lot of awesome people at Comic Con who were interested in Outlander. A lot of people love my Fraser's Wrist t-shirt, by the way, so if that was one of you, the link is down below where you can get that as well. Hopefully you like the tartan goals. I've been thinking actually about starting a new campaign because I love tartan. As you guys know, I wear a lot of tartan on this vlog, and I try and promote it as much as possible. So for example, Sophie, who plays Brianna in Outlander, appeared at Comic Con wearing some awesome tartan, and I tagged it on Twitter as tartan goals. And I'm thinking about making that something bigger, like a bit of a campaign on social media, on Instagram and on Twitter. I want to get more people wearing tartan, get people from around the world, and I know you guys love your tartan as well, so get your photos out on Twitter, on an Instagram, tagged tartan goals. And if you do that and I see it, and I'm going to search for tartan goals on Instagram and Twitter to start this campaign, and I'm going to be sharing some of my favourite photos of you guys wearing your tartan, and I'm going to be wearing my tartan as much as possible as well. So get your tartan on, tartan goals. And by the way, just talking about Roger and Brianna quickly, because it is an important part of season 4 in future, we know. They revealed more about that on the Outlander panel, which I will talk about in a later video, but didn't feature at all in the first episode, but we do know they're going to be a big part of season 4 going forward. which is going to be a really interesting factor of the show, I guess. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed this vlog. Make sure, if you haven't already, check out all my other Outlander related videos down below. I'm going to be doing a whole new season of Outlander vlogs for season 4. I can't wait to share more of that with you guys. Please do consider becoming a Patreon supporter of mine. Link for that is up above. You can become a patron of mine for as little as $1 a month, and that really helps me to continue to produce this content. Every penny goes towards making these videos, so your support means a lot to me, and I thank you all so much for watching these videos. So guys, until the next Outlander adventure, there will be more. I hope you have a good night, morning, evening, afternoon, or whatever time of day it is wherever you are in the world. Take care.
America.